Testing, testing, 1, 2, 1, 2. There we go. Okay. Check 1, 2, 1, 2. Testing 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, there we go. All right. Well, thank you for tuning in. Welcome to a very special episode here. First off, let me introduce what we're doing here. We're recording a podcast and we're doing a live stream at the same time. Never done this before, so I'm going to be juggling a lot of things. I'll probably drop a few balls as I'm doing it, but let's give it a try. We're going to do the intro to the podcast right now, and let's go. It's Friday, October 18th, 2019, and you're listening to the PJK podcast. These are 4 things that would piss Steve Jobs off if he were around today. Okay, that's the intro. All right. Hello and welcome to the podcast / live stream. My name is Patrick and I will be your host today. I'm flying solo. I don't have a guest on, but wanted to talk about some things that, Steve Jobs passed away in 2011, I believe. Yeah, 2011. And left behind a great legacy, of course, but there are certain things and certain quirks that he had that, just kept Apple from, being as big as it could be. And I'm going to talk about 4 things that Apple's doing today that it would never fly in Steve Jobs' watch. Um, and let's jump into it here because I think it'll be fun. Just so you know, I'm streaming live onto Twitch, YouTube, and Mixer, as well as once this is done, the video will be on demand on all of those platforms as well. So if you missed the live stream, you can always go back and listen. And if you let's see, if you look at the bottom of this screen, I think, let's see, yeah, bottom of that screen right there, you'll see that I have a podcast at anchor.fm/pjk. So you might be listening to this podcast right now and going, what, he's live streaming? Yes, I am. You can check me out at Twitch at PJK with an underscore after it. Mixer, same thing, PJK with an underscore. And just look up Patrick Carney on YouTube and you'll find my channel there. So now that I think we're covered on all the different angles and ways that you can watch my beautiful self on the on the screen here, let me go back to full screen here. We're going to talk about 4 things that would probably piss Steve Jobs off today. He would not do this. This one here in particular. Let's see. Let me go to this. All right. So one thing that Apple has always kind of prided itself on is always having you to buy their hardware in order to enjoy their services. And Apple TV is no different. However, if you take a look at this, the new Apple TV app is here. This is Roku's website. Yeah, that's right. Let me go back. This is Roku's website, and they now have an Apple TV app on Roku, which means you can get the Apple TV service and all of its content and everything without having to buy an Apple TV. You think that would fly on Steve Jobs' watch? I don't. I think he would absolutely hate that. He's always been known where it's like, if you want a Mac experience, you got to buy a Mac. You notice they never took the Mac operating system and said, anybody who can build a PC, here, just install the Mac operating system. No, you got to buy the Mac. And he was very adamant about that. And for a little bit of time, God, sometime in the mid to late 90s, I think, for a short period of time, while Steve Jobs was not there at Apple, they did license their operating system to third-party hardware manufacturers. And it was kind of good because they're a little competition now, both in price and in performance. But they both ran the Mac operating system. It was really cool. And so you got to actually have a choice, and you could also configure it a lot more. Anyway, Steve Jobs came back on board and nixed that right away. He was not going to have any of that. But this is interesting. This just happened the other day. This is October 15th. Apple TV is now available on the Roku platform, and I've got it. Let's see if I can get yeah, here we go. I'm going to turn the camera, for those of you on the podcast, this is terrible podcasting, but I'm going to turn the camera to my television. I have Roku built in. I don't even have a Roku box, but here's my remote, and we're going to go and check Apple TV out. There's the Apple TV app. And lo and behold, it launches the Apple TV experience here. Let's see if I can't go full screen on that so that you can see what's really going on here. There. All right, so we're loading the Apple TV thing, and there it is. Just like it was running off of a piece of Apple hardware, there's Apple TV, and it's got everything that you would expect on Apple TV. Watch now, movies, TV shows, a kids section, search, the whole thing. And I've got it, I've got my Apple account hooked up to it, of course. So, if I do rent a movie, I'm using my Apple account to rent the movie and that sort of thing. But here it is running just, plain as day on a Roku box. That's pretty impressive. That could be a step in the right direction for Apple, and I sure hope they think about that for the Mac operating system. I think that would be a really good idea. To say, you know what, I want to build my computer my way. I want to run your operating system, but here we go. This is a good step in that direction. So good for you, Apple. Again, Steve would hate that. He would absolutely hate that. So let's spin us back here. Get me back on camera here. So that's the Apple TV thing, and I think that's going to be kind of cool to see that going. And the new Apple TV Plus service is also going to be on this thing, so I'll still be able to subscribe to Apple TV Plus. I just won't have to be trapped using their hardware to play it. I can't tell you how not Steve Jobs that is. So let's do another thing. Another thing that happened very recently. Apple updated their operating system to iOS 13, and you power this on. And what that lets you do, amongst other things, is use third-party video game controllers with an iOS device or a Mac or an Apple TV, if you had the Apple TV hardware. Why is this a big deal? This is a big deal because Steve Jobs, again, never would have gone and said, oh, hey, you know, there's 50 million of these Xbox controllers out there in people's homes already. Why don't we just, you know, use Bluetooth and use them? No. He would do something totally proprietary and totally weird, and it would have, you know, special features that, you know, he would think was cool, but it was just not. You know, this is why I have mice from Apple that still don't have 3 buttons or 3 or more buttons on them. It's always one big stupid button, and you got to figure out where to click on it. It's also why on every Macintosh keyboard to this date we have the stupid Command Clover button that is on no other keyboard from no other, you know, operating system. And thank you, Steve, for that legacy, or the Apple button they would sometimes call it. You know, he just dig his heels in on stupid shit like that. Like, you know, and I'll skip ahead actually to one of the things that he would be pissed off about today. Or actually, he would not be pissed off about today. Let me be clear on that. He would love this today. Is if I were to buy a new laptop today, this laptop that I'm on right now, that I'm doing the stream on, I'm recording a podcast, I'm about to, you know, do a couple of other things and play video games and things like that. I would have to get rid of all the peripherals on this, or buy a $100 dock, because the new Macs only have the Thunderport ports on them. So all my USB here, all my headphone ports, the magnetic power thing, which was such a great idea, where if you kicked the power cord, it would just pop right off and not send your laptop flying. Oh no, we're not doing that anymore. You got to plug that shit in, and you're going to knock that laptop off, because we're going to sell more laptops. That's the whole point. Why would you put a feature on there that would keep you from buying a new laptop? So he loves the idea of like, oh, well, if you're going to buy a new laptop, you're going to have to buy a bunch of new peripherals along with it. He would love that. He's selling shit all day. But, you know, he would hate the idea that I'm doing all this on a laptop that's from 2013. So everything you're seeing here is going through a MacBook Pro from 2013. He would hate that because he hasn't sold a computer to me in many years. And he needs to get my, you know, the super overpriced Apple laptop, and needs to come out and charge me for $3,000 for a laptop that I could get the same amount of power on a Windows machine for a third of the price. You know, that's the Apple way. Anyway, but I wanted to show you this. So from iOS 13, now here I am with an Xbox controller. This is my iPhone. I have an iPhone XS Max. I'm going to fire this up. And let's see if I can, whoops, go away. All right, so I'm going to crank up a game here, and let's do this. I'm going to change the angle here. Push. Yeah. Okay, so you can hear a game firing up. I'm going to change the angle here. Sorry for the podcasters here. Let's see. Here we go. All right. So now, can you see the screen here? I'm going to try to angle that so that you can see it. I'm playing a game called Wonder Blade on the iOS device. And it's loud. So I'll get my microphone a little closer. And watch this. I'm going to control it with the Xbox controller. I think I'm controlling it. Oops. Oh, come on. All right, stand by. This is great podcasting, isn't it? You can't tell what the hell I'm doing, but I'm trying to make sure that my Bluetooth... Yes, the wireless controller is connected. Okay, good. So there's a UI thing that I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be doing here. Let's see. Put that back there, and see if I can control this thing somehow. The answer is no. All right, good times. Settings, credits, achievements, no. Play the fucking game. Done. All right, let's not play this game. We're going to play a different game because whoever developed that game sucks balls. All right, now. So here we are. We're going to play Asphalt Legends 9. I think you can see that. All right, let's see. Who cares, male or female? Why does it matter when male or female are driving a car? Okay, whatever. And select your age. Oh. There. Done. Accept. Why do you care how old I am to play your stupid game? Play. All right, so you can see I'm using the controller here, or as you can hear, I'm using the controller here, and I'm going to be doing a little racing. If I can get past the cutscenes here. There we go. Come on. Get past the cutscenes. Here we go. Yes, 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 yes. These guys are just so self-masturbatory on their game here. Okay, here we are. Alright, come on. I don't want the controller. Just go. Alright, it's trying to teach me how to play the game. I guess I got it into tutorial mode or something. Okay, 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 okay. There we are. So as you can see, now I'm driving. There we are. So, using the controller. This is a popular controller, the Xbox One controller. You can also use the PlayStation controllers and those other ones that are generic, I believe. This can be quiet while I tell it to quit. You can use other generic controllers to play these games, and that's pretty cool. Steve Jobs, again, would have never allowed that. If you've ever saw a Pippin, go ahead and Google Pippin from Bondi. This was a game console that Apple and Bondi teamed up on. And if you look at that controller, it was just whack. It was a weird controller. That's what happens when Apple gets into the game controller business, is they make a whack little controller. And these the Xbox controller is just the most comfortable controller. I've even used the PlayStation 4 controller and stuff, but the Xbox One controller is the most comfortable controller for gaming that I've ever used. And I hope they continue to keep doing that. So that's another thing that would have pissed him off. Let me get the last one here. Apple Watch. Let's talk about Apple Watch. I don't know if you have an Apple Watch or not. I don't. Mainly because I tell time by looking at my smartphone. Now, if Steve Jobs was here, he'd probably say, we'll sell more Apple Watches if you turn the clock off, the clock feature off on the startup screen on your iPhone. Whenever you pick up your iPhone, you can see what time it is. That's why I don't have a watch. It's because my smartphone does that for me. But here's the thing that I can't get about Apple Watches. I don't understand why you need one. Can anyone come up with a use case for why you need an Apple Watch? They have features on it like, oh, you could answer your phone. And it's like, okay, well, I have AirPods. I can just tap my AirPod twice and answer the phone. What do I need a watch for? Telling time, I look at my smartphone. I don't need to know what time it is all the time. Other fitness things and stuff like this. It's like, I don't need any of that. I'm not doing any of that. The heart monitor thing, no, I don't need. The only thing that I would want this for is if they had sleep monitoring. Oh, but you can't do that. You know why? Because it can't take a charge for more than 12 hours. You got to put it on the charging cradle at night. You can't have it on you monitoring your sleep at night because it needs to charge. You'll wake up in the morning and the thing will be dead. And so that's a big problem, I think, for Apple, is until they get something that, Fitbit can handle this just fine, by the way. So can the Android watches. But for some reason, the Apple Watch just can't hack it. Is you got to be able to go like 48 hours without a charge. And that'll give you sleep monitoring. That's what you need. Or can you charge while it's on my wrist? Can you have a thing sitting on the nightstand that's kind of charging it over the air or something? Those are the things that, that's why I don't think smartwatches are going to, especially the Apple Watch, is really not going to take off until they can solve that problem. And the other thing is everything else it does, I've already got on more convenient devices. I don't know if that makes sense, but, okay, I can play music on it. Okay, I can do that from my smartphone just fine, and it just, it's always with me, so it's in the car. It Bluetooths right up to my car stereo, and there we go, listening to music. Don't need a watch for that. Um, what else? What if you've got an Apple Watch? Sell me on it. But this is what something I think would piss Steve Jobs off today is that there is not a killer app yet for the smartwatch. It's a neat little device. If you look at it, it seems like it would be cool, but I can't think of a reason for somebody to go, I must own one. And that's got to be driving him nuts. He's got to be twirling over in his grave. But they've sold a few. It's the number one selling watch out there, I think, right? Number one selling watch brand. So, okay, who's got one and why did you buy it? And what is it doing for you that you can't do more effectively or just as effectively on another device? I want to hear from you. Podcast at pjk.net. Tell me what you would use an Apple Watch for. And if you go to the Anchor let me get the URL up here. If you go to, where is it? Is it this? Yeah. If you go to my podcast link, anchor.fm/PJK, there's a button on there that will let you send me a voice message. And I can put it into the podcast if you send me a voice message. So why don't you do that? Go to anchor.fm/PJK, record a voice message, and sell me on why I should get an Apple Watch. What's an Apple Watch going to do for me? I don't know. But that would be cool. If you do that, that would be dandy. All right. Well, this has been a fun little experiment. As you can see, if you're watching the live or on-demand video, I've kind of jumped around a little bit and changed scenes and stuff like that. If you're listening to the podcast, I hope it hasn't been making too many references to visual things, but I'm trying to describe them as I'm looking at them too, so that it's not, such a bad experience for you there. But this kind of stuff I think is really cool, and it's, I think, a departure for Apple. So things like the Apple TV app being on third-party hardware, that's a big deal. Steve would have never done that. I think being able to use third-party game controllers with iOS devices or a Mac, again, Steve would have been like, why can't we make a game controller? We're Apple. We should be able to make hardware just as good as, if not better than these guys. In fact, why are we opening it up to a third-party hardware? It's going to junk up our brand or something like that. I don't think so. I think this is fantastic. I'm going to take my Xbox controller on a plane next time I'm flying, and I'm going to stand up my phone just like I've done over here on the food tray on the plane, and I'm going to sit there and play video games with a controller. I've always wanted to do that on a plane. It's just going to be a lot of fun, I think. Things like, I'm glad I haven't had to upgrade my Macintosh PowerBook because I still require USB ports and all these different ports that I've got. I like the MagSafe adapter, but I'd have to give all that up and buy more hardware. I'd have to get a new monitor because this monitor uses a special DisplayPort plug that's not on the new Macs. It's not on the new MacBooks. And I'd have to either get a funky adapter or do something like that, or get an all-new monitor. And so there's a lot of hardware that I'm going to have to invest in when I eventually have to get a new laptop. And I have noticed that in the obsolescence cycle is, I think I've got maybe 1 or 2 more OS updates that my 2013 laptop here will allow me to do before they kind of put you at the end of the cliff there and say, you got to upgrade your laptop now, and you're not getting any more operating system updates that will support your device. That's something Steve really likes, I'm sure, is the the planned obsolescence. I don't like it that much at all. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to the show. I hope you enjoyed it. It's a short show, but I wanted to get a couple things out there and talk with you about some of the cool new things that are out on the Apple platform, but also, wow, is that a departure from what the former boss of Apple would have done. Thanks again for listening. I'd love to hear your comments. Sell me on that Apple Watch. Podcast at pjk.net, or go to anchor.fm/PJK and leave me a voice comment. And if I get a voice comment from you, I'll try to incorporate it into the next show. All right. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. See you next time, or hear you next time. And we're done. There we go. That was fun. That was a podcast and a live stream at the same time. I hope you enjoyed that. And let's see. I've got to figure out how all my gear's going to get back together after all of this. I'm going to be streaming later tonight, by the way. I'm going to be playing a game from the Xbox Game Pass. Oh, God, what's it called? It's, shoot, hang on. I'll tell you what it's called. Just give me a moment. I have to pull up the Finder here. I've got so many windows open on this thing, I can't tell you what's going on. The game is called, and it's a new one this week to the Xbox Game Pass. And let's see, it's called, oh God, where is it? I got too many things in here. Crap. Oh, Felix the Reaper. Felix the Reaper. Here, I'll open a screen grab of this. Basically, you're playing as a there we go. You're playing as an agent of death or something like that. One of the Reapers, the Grim Reapers that goes around and collects souls and stuff. Anyway, I think you fall in love with somebody, and so to impress them, you're trying to do some dancing or some funky moves or something like that. I don't know. It sounds completely crazy, and we'll be playing that a little bit later tonight. So come back and check that out. Felix the Reaper, a romantic comedy game about the life of death. And we'll be playing that this evening. So thanks for watching. If you're on Twitch, Twitter, or if you're on Twitch or Mixer or YouTube, be sure to hit the follow button. If you're on, you want to catch me when I'm streaming, you can do so by following me on Twitter, and that's at PJK. Real easy, just my initials. And I tweet out every time I start the stream, and I hope to see you next time I'm streaming. Have a good one. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. Oops, I should probably do this.